Hello everyone, Don Quixote's Tristan here. Today I'd like to talk about a subject that I hold very close to my heart, and the reason I do so is because it's affected my life in a big way, and in a sense, is why I got the courage to become a YouTuber in the first place, and that subject is mental health. Now, when I was younger, I didn't necessarily experience the signs that would suggest something was different with my mental health and well-being. I remember when I was younger, my parents told me that I had a severe fever and that it required me going to the hospital to bring down. But I didn't really think there were any lasting side effects of that fever. But as I grew older, I realized that I wasn't really like other kids. Most kids were had an imagination. They were going around playing, you know, make believe and whatever, and I was more of an old soul from the get go. I remember my friends telling me that I didn't really speak like a normal child. I had more of a old man dialogue, so to speak, and it wasn't until recently that I actually started talking in a more normal sense, so to speak. And I always attributed that to the fact that, again, to that high fever when I was a kid. Now, I remember the time that it started to become a little bit more apparent that I was dealing with some of these issues was around fourth and fifth grade. I was being moved to some. I don't want to call them special because that seems kind of um, misleading. It's more of assisted classes, and I didn't really fully understand it at the time, but from what I understood, it was just because I was really bad at homework and I didn't really understand math that well. And um, I just remember curious as to why I was going to these other classes when there were regular ones available to me. But when I was, again, during that time, I didn't really think there was anything wrong because I still functioned like a kid. I still hung up with my friends. I still went out, socialized, stuff like that. It wasn't until I moved and relocated from my hometown to my new city that it became apparent exactly what I was dealing with. And the reason I say that is because it was very difficult for me to make new friends, and it was hard for me to get out there and socialize. Change has been something that has been hard for me to deal with a long time, and I'm someone who likes to have stability in my life. I like to have a schedule. I like to be able to predict how my day's going to go. And when that huge shift changed, it really set me back a little bit. So I remember when I got to my new middle school, I tried my best to make myself available, but I didn't really click with anyone else. And it was hard for me because my real friends were 4 hours away from me. So it's not like I could just drive and go see them. And I would say the point where it became really obvious is around high school. And I know that's when a lot of kids hit their highs and lows, but it hit especially hard for me because it was around the same time when I was diagnosed with grand mal seizures. Up until before, they were just frontal lobe, and that was what attributed to all the anger outbursts and stuff like that. But the first time I actually had a grand mal seizure was in 10th grade, and I honestly didn't think anything was wrong because I actually remember how it went down. I was in home ec class and I was setting the table getting ready to enjoy the food we made with my group. And all of a sudden I found myself sitting on a chair waking up. I had just thought I passed out due to dehydration or something. But from what the teacher told me, I had an epileptic seizure. And So it was a huge shock to me because I've never dealt with anything like this before. And to be honest, I didn't really understand. Because again, I come from a really sheltered background, so it didn't even occur to me what an epileptic seizure was, let alone that I could possibly be suffering from it. And I think it was at that point it started to hit me what I was dealing with, because the best way to describe it is it felt like I was kind of in a time freeze where I was watching people progress, grow up, advance their lives, and I was kind of stuck in this infinite loop where everything was the same and I just couldn't escape it. I remember everyone getting their driver's license or driver's permit at 14, driver's license at 16, and it made me feel really awkward being one of the only ones that couldn't drive, and that was true up until I was the age of 23. So going to family reunions and stuff like that and not being able to drive, it really made it a little bit more difficult to deal with everything that was going on. And the other thing that contributed it is watching my friends move on and not being able to interact with them and just watching them fade out of my life. Because, as I said earlier, making new friends was extremely difficult for me. It's not, I mean, I'm good at conversations. I can have a conversation with someone if I need to, but I'm not actively going out and searching for people to. Because a lot of my things is I'm a little bit more old fashioned, as I said, and I've come accustomed to newer things, but I still don't like to party. I'm not really a go out and do stuff type of person. Like, I'll like to go out and have a nice dinner once in a while, but most of the time I'd like to stay back at the home and play Switch or write down some recipes. So when I think of a good evening, I think of doing something quiet and listening to music. So in a generation that really likes to go all out and live while you can, it's really hard for me to find friends that enjoy the same things as I do. And I think another thing that contributed to how hard this was for me is I was adopted, as I said, at a late age, or when my parents were already in their mid to late 30s. So I, a lot of the people that I knew, friends that I had through my parents, were already passing away, and when the one that really helped me get through a lot of my tough times is my grandfather, and he actually passed away in 2017. So having one of the very few people that understood what I was going through, um, you know, move on was really difficult for me. So it made it difficult for me to understand why everything was happening the way it was. And I remember when I was going through my school career, I had a set plan in place. I was going to go to my college of choice. I was going to work in a movie theater or at Sam's Club because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to follow my father's footsteps. But with everything that set me back, it tripped me up a lot harder than looking back on it, it really should have. And it's because, again, me trying to deal with or changes in plans at that, was really difficult. And so, trying to adjust was nearly impossible for the longest time. But I think something that really helped me get through this all, and I would not be as nearly as okay as I am right now if it hadn't been for my in-laws and my wife, because like I said, I had no understanding of the issues with mental health before that. I I was expected to push it off to the side, get through it, and just try to push past my limitations and do the best that I could. But when I met my in-laws and wife, they helped me understand that it wasn't anything different, and this is something that is completely real, and people actually deal with. And I think that made me more comfortable in choosing a different path for what I wanted in my life. Now, that's not to say I haven't tried working and making income. I've always given my 100% when I've had a job. But for instance, my last job that I've actually had and been hired on, Jeff Belzer's, um, I remember I went in for the interview and I was told I was getting hired on. Well, when they found out I was on Social Security and I couldn't work for a set amount of time, my supervisor cut my hours in half. And at first I thought that was okay because I was just a parts cashier, so I didn't think it was a big deal. But that same Thursday, and this was the first week, mind you, that I actually started, I was met with three managers and they all told me they wanted to rescind the job offer. And I remember begging them because being someone who was tight on money, it was something that could have really helped us out. I was begging at that point for them to maybe find a different position I could work in, and I was even willing to work the full 8 hours just so that I could keep the job because one of my fears was that if I had an epileptic seizure, I would be sitting down already, so I wouldn't have to try to find a place to sit down or have the fear of hitting my head on the desk or whatever. And they told me it would just be easier to part ways. And I admit I was pretty angry and hurt, and so I tried to take them to court. And the way they phrased it is I refused to work the hours that were given to me. And I couldn't find anyone to take the case, and my parents just told me to let it go. And I had never felt more defeated in my life before because I was really looking forward to that job. But in the absence of that, I found something that I was really good at, and that is being a stay at home husband. And I've always been good at that kind of stuff, as far as I can remember anyway. I've always had a clean apartment, clean home. I've done my own laundry, and I was messy as a kid. Who isn't? But growing up on my own, I've been able to take care of myself, and knowing that I have a wife who appreciates everything that I do for her, it makes it so much easier and makes me feel a lot more accomplished in any job I could have. And even though I don't get paid for it, it still makes me so much happier knowing that there's someone that sees the amount of effort I'm putting into to try to make it work. And I know I'm not necessarily successful, and I doubt I'll be as successful as some of the YouTubers you see out there that have millions of subscribers, but I this has given me an opportunity to do something with my life that I feel will make an impact. And if it helps other people get through what they're going through too, that will make every minute spent on YouTube worth it. Because personally, I know how hard it is to deal with this stuff. And it's not easy when a lot of people think that if you don't have a physical ability, then you don't have a disability at all. And mental illness is something that needs to be talked more in schools and in society and taken more seriously because all it takes is one bad day to put you in a really dark place. And I know it because I have been there. And so it's my hope that with this video and the people that watch it, they know that they're not alone and that no matter where you are in this circumstance, you can get out of it. And it's not even about overcoming it. It's just finding a way to manage and deal with it in a way that works for you. Like I said, for me, it's being a house husband. It's cooking. It's doing the groceries. It's doing everything that keeps a home stable and steady. And, I think that's the best way to overcome these situations is finding your strengths and utilizing them in a way that helps you get through life in the best way possible. And it's definitely not been easy. There are days where I could just wish I could just turn everything off and hold down a nice 9 to 5 job and you know bring in an income so that we're not always waiting to the beginning of the month for money. and I can afford to take my wife out to nice dinners and stuff like that, but at the same time, I know she doesn't need those, or because she's told me she doesn't care about five-star restaurants or the nice bling. She appreciates me for the little things, like the meals I cook for her, and the fact that she will always have a clean home to go to, and she will always be taken care of. Um, and to me, that means a lot more than getting paid, minimum wage to do a job that just makes me miserable. I, sorry, I was just getting, it's really hard for me to talk about because I don't normally come public with this kind of stuff, but I feel most accomplished when I'm helping other people. And that goes as far back as to when I used to volunteer with my father. It always made me happy when I put a smile on other people's faces and helped other people. And it's just a lot more rewarding than even a six-figure job to me. Because from experience, I know how hard life can be. And I know that sometimes it feels like it'd be easier to just stay in bed all day and not want to do anything. But if I could just reach a couple of people with this video and let them know that they're not alone, that would mean more to me than anything else in the whole entire world. Because, like I said, it was easier for me to just hold everything in and just try to ignore it so that I could do the best that I could. But that's not a healthy way to deal with things. And I don't want anyone else feeling that that's the way they should do it too. Because it is always important to share your feelings and your thoughts and just find ways to deal with this in your own unique way. And it's something that, to be honest, is never going to go away. It will always be a part of you. But it doesn't have to be a bad part of you. It could make you stronger. It could help you figure out advantages that you could use to go further in life. And some people see it as weakness, but it doesn't have to be. It could be a huge strength if you just figure out the right way to maneuver it. And it's for that reason that I fully support the push for more education of mental health in school systems, and having mental health being taken more seriously in the workplace, because I understand a lot of bosses just think it's laziness, but the loss of a pet can hit you hard, and the loss of a family member can hit you hard. Mental health isn't just something that affects a few people. It affects everyone in many different ways, and it needs to be taken more seriously if we're ever going to move forward as a society, and humanity's going to move forward as a whole. Because, it's just something that needs to be addressed more and taken seriously. And I just wish and hope that people find the strength to talk about what they're going through and find comfort in their communities, because trying to deal with it alone is the worst decision you could make, because no person can handle everything by themselves as much as they like to think they can. And finding help is going to be the best way. It doesn't even have to be like through a therapist or whatever. It could just be through friends, family, a stranger you meet on the street, whatever. Just find some support and don't be afraid to talk about it, because there will always be some person that may judge you, but for every person that judges you, there will be 1,000 more that are understanding and will be there to support you. And so, with all that being said, I really do hope you liked the video, and I thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next video, and have a good day.